Hello, community. Happy Thursday to all of us. Welcome to today's community event. I hope you and yours are doing fantastic. As always, we're so thrilled to have you here with us today. We're always looking forward to these events as not only giving us the opportunity to spread uh, the good news about the blockchain technology, but it also gives us the opportunity to uh, beyond just this industry, but even further detailed our ecosystem, and to have a platform where we can come together as a community and crypto enthusiasts to be informed, educated, to share ideas, and to get some questions answered, get some topics discussed based on the whatever is on your mind that you want to share, you want to dig more further deep and learn more about, because we understand that this industry is still so early and there's still so much to learn, and the learning curve is still very steep. And what better way to do that than with brain power, right? So all of us have experience, all of us have been through the cycles, or even if you're new, there's some experiences you've been through that are valuable, that we can exchange and share and build each other up as a community. This is why this is one of our four pillars, and this is why we do these weekly events daily on Zoom, is to bring awareness, to inform each other, be educated about this industry. And there's a broad spectrum of topics that we owe it to ourselves to learn about, to know about. So these are the sessions to cover all that. With that said, I want to welcome everyone that is tuning in for the first time. We are very humbled and pleased to have you here with us. And also those that are regularly with us, of course, we are glad to have you here with us as well. If you're for the first time, you're not part of our Telegram group yet, or our Twitter or X, feel free to do so. The link is right there. I see Queen Vala has already lined them up. So feel free to join us on Telegram. We are active there as well. Follow us on Twitter as well. And feel free to join us during the sessions that we have, like today, Thursdays on YouTube. We have Saturdays and Mondays on Twitter or X. And then we also have Queen's exclusive on Fridays and on Sundays as well. So that's exclusively for the Queens in our community. If you so desire, I highly encourage you to participate and be part of it as well. And talking about Twitter, as always, we have our daily community activity, and that is to spread the word through the X space or Twitter. We are very engaged and very active by posting tweets on our three platforms, Killer Whale, Survivor, and Bullrun. If you have not done so, I highly encourage you to do so. Engage with these tweets, as they're very informative and educational, and they also help to bring and spread awareness to the about our industry, and specifically about the challenges that we are addressing that are coming out of our industry, and how our ecosystem, our platform is used, or is being enabled rather, through the blockchain technology and smart contracts to find the solutions to them. With that said, community, there's quite a lot to cover today. So let's ensure that we get right to today's topic. Don't worry, I'll come back to your comments. I appreciate your comments. We'll come full circle at the end, and then we'll go through them, your feedbacks, all of it. If you have any questions as we progress through today's session, feel free to post them. We'll answer the questions. We'll read through every single comment that you're posting over there as well. So with that said, let's get right into today's session. As always, I want us to start on my CoinMarketCap. This is something that is the basis of the crypto industry, that just shows us what the market is like. Right now, we are flat at 2.9 trillion market cap, as we see here. Also, Bitcoin is back to below 90K, and Ethereum is set at 2,200, as we see. Most importantly is always the two numbers, to see how the Bitcoin dominance is still at 60, and the greed and fear and greed index is at 30. As we always know, the markets are very sentiment driven. very speculative and anticipative, forward thinking, meaning that with tomorrow being Friday and the news outlets busting on the first crypto summit led by the White House, the US, from the US, um, people have been anticipating and buying in, front running the news. And right before it's about to take place, it seems like the sales are taking place already before even the news hits. So this is how this market currently is running, especially being such a low liquidity industry. It's really something that we unfortunately have to just bear with and embrace, right? This is how the markets are right now. So there's really nothing much else I want to highlight out of this. So let's get straight to today's session. As you see, community, the topic is the App Store moment, right? And what do we mean with the App Store moment? When we talk about the App Store moment, community, what we talk about is a time that comes where a new technology is put in place, and this new technology is highly embraced by real traditional institutions that are well regulated, that are very influential, and they open doors and floodgates to to bring this technology to mainstream for multiple users to be able to participate in. And it starts from the developers and then goes into the users. But the developers need a platform where the infrastructure is already put in place, where they can really fully navigate and comfortably build, knowing that there are enough users, there is enough liquidity, there are enough eyeballs, that once it will be worthwhile developing and deploying DeFi applications, or whatever applications for that matter, on the blockchain that you plan to build on. So infrastructure plays a major role. And this is a moment that Apple had back in 2007. And this is actually to date, it's almost, when we look back, 18 years ago, right? Actually, to be exact, it's 17 years, almost to the date, and we'll identify that. We'll soon see that. So the App Store moment is what we are at right now, community. We're at that moment right now. There's a new technology, emerging technology, and it's based on smart contracts, meaning these are softwares. Just like during the mobile technology, applications are softwares. You code them, and then the applications that we can't live without these days, from Uber to Instagram to all our mobile applications, e-bankings, and all the things that we use these days to communicate, to entertain ourselves, to consume news. All of that came through the new economy of the applications. And this is the same place that we are today, at the crossroad. And this is what we're going to tackle. But I always like us to take a step back. Before we can appreciate what we really have, we need to first identify and isolate the challenges that we face in this industry. This is why I'd like us to start with the challenges. Let's highlight the challenges that we face in this industry first, and then we can get to the meat and potatoes and highlight how these identified challenges are being addressed and how to make our case that we are at a cutting edge. We are at a crossroad right now where a cutting edge technology is to our disposal. And depending on how we use it to its fullest potential, it can have the same impact. And it will have the same impact like the App Store had back in 2008. So let's get this going. Let's identify the challenges that we often talk about, even in our own ecosystem. This is a very interesting tweet right here, and it's talking about Aave. We'll get into details what Aave really is, but briefly, just to have a general understanding what it's about. So Aave is introducing a proposal, and this proposal is to buy and distribute Aave, right? They want to come up with a new program to assist with the challenges that we face in this industry. And one of them is a sustainable staking distributions. But this is just an overall general idea that we should have. So keep Aave in mind, community. What is Aave, right? Aave is if it comes to rankings, protocol rankings, and this is on all. This is on Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin, Binance, Tron, you name it. All the blockchains, everything. Aave comes to, in terms of protocol, to the second. It's the second largest application in the entire industry. And it's only roughly 2 billion, as we see here, dollars behind, in terms of total value locked behind Lido. And we'll further see as we progress throughout this session, we'll identify that this is not much at all. And Aave will eventually become an extremely large, actually the largest application in the space. And I don't just make such bold statements. We always like to back these bold statements, and we'll get to that shortly. Let's still stick to this. So if you look at all the applications, not only are they the second largest, but if you focus on the top 10 applications here, from the first one to the 10th one, which happens to be Uniswap, they are the only lending platform amongst the top 10 protocols in the entire industry that is actually a lending platform. They're the only one within the top 10. If you see, there's actually only one lending platform in the top 10 and one decentralized exchange, which is Uniswap. The rest, as you see here in this category bracket, you see that they're all staking platforms. Staking or restaking or yield bearing, everything that has to do with staking. Now, let's get this, let's not misunderstand this. Aave and Uniswap both have staking, obviously, as well. Right? They also have staking capabilities as well, because obviously they're on a proof of stake network, which is Ethereum, right? So these are native Ethereum applications, and Aave is not just some random token or application. It is the second largest in terms of total value locked. It is the largest in terms of lending platform. So this is just to highlight that that Aave is literally a large application that we need to pay attention to. Also, let's go back to CoinMarketCap. Let's scroll all the way down to 33rd, and this is where Aave sits, right? So Aave is, in terms of all the applications, all the cryptocurrencies combined, they're the 33rd largest in the entire industry, sitting at 3 billion and half a billion in volume, right? Let's keep this in mind. And what I also want us to highlight and understand is, let's take a snapshot of Aave staking. If we come here to Aave, first of all, let me show you how you get there. If you select Aave right here and you scroll down and you come here to the, you see the address, the token address, you copy it. You can copy it and then you go to Etherscan, right? You can go to Etherscan, or you can just click it. Once you copy it, you come to Etherscan, you paste it over here, you paste the address, and then this is where it will bring you, right? So once you're here, you go to holders. Once you go to holders, you'll identify the number one wallet right now. This is the staked Aave. This is a contract. This is a smart contract. You see that 18% of Aave is being staked right now. This shows you that Aave has a challenge. We say that we want to focus on the challenges so that we can embrace and appreciate the solutions. So Aave identified that one of our challenges is we are been around for a couple of years now, right? However, we're not being staked like we would like to, because staking plays a major role. It not only secures the network, but it also brings stability to the ecosystem, to the cryptocurrency. However, at 18% staked, this is really not, it's not a strong, it doesn't show a strong signal of trust in this token in terms of its it's too volatile, it's inflationary, it's not addressing the 4 challenges, so it's not an attractive staking token, right? That's just the reality. It's not picking on Aave. Aave, like we saw, is a major player, the largest lending platform, the second largest protocol in the industry based on total value locked, the 33rd largest application cryptocurrency general. So it's a one of the leaders. It's actually the leader in lending, right? And one of the leading platforms in the industry. So with that said, why are we highlighting this? Is because this is one of the challenges, right, that it's facing. Just to so that it makes more sense, if we come to ours right now and we compare ours, also the number one wallet is it's a contract. This is a staking contract, and we have 69.7, so we're closing in on 70% staked, right? So staking plays a major role, like we just identified on DeFi Llama, and you need to enable you need to enable your platform to be able to address the challenges in the space, especially for a staking platform. Because if you don't address these 4 challenges, again, there are lack of liquidity, inflation, unsustainable staking distributions, and inefficient use of volume. So contrast to Aave, ours is almost 70% staked, right? Just to put it into perspective, just to understand. Now, our platform is barely 2 years old. We just celebrated our 2nd year anniversary. But if we go to Aave, and we are a very small community, just about to go through our first bull cycle. Now, if you come to Aave and you go to About, just to have an idea of the age, how old Aave is, Aave was in September 18. So let's say 7 years, right? So six years, will be their 7th year, right? 6 more months will be 7 years. So 6.5 years they've been in the industry, right? So, and now let's go back to the challenge that they have right now. Now it will make sense. So Aave has been around for 7 years, 6.5 years to be exact. And now they've identified that we need to do something. We identified some challenges we've not been addressing for the past 6.5 years. It's time to do so. And what do? They came over here and did this, right? So they offered a proposal. And what does this proposal mean? In summary, we're not going to go through the nitty and gritty things. Let's keep it surface level, just so that we can save time on this. So as we see, they're focusing on 3 of the 4 major challenges that we are always talking about in the community. The first one, as we see here, first of all, they call it that they want to update Aavenomics, right? Aavenomics basically is the tokenomics for Aave. We always encourage the community to look at tokenomics as a monetary system, right? Look at these tokenomics as a monetary system, because it's easier for us to be able to identify whether it's a strong monetary system or a weak one. Weak one would be a copy-paste of the existing monetary system, depth-driven, inflationary, you lose your purchasing power, right? Those are the features that will identify that this is a weak monetary system. So Aave identified that. Now look at what they're focusing on. They're addressing. First of all, they want to address revenue distribution. So what is that? Staking distribution. So they want to fix their unsustainable staking distributions and make them sustainable. That's number one. What's their second? They want to depreciate lend. So for us not to be confused, let's go back to Aave here on CoinMarketCap. Keep in mind the name lend. If you scroll further down and we go to tokenomics, we'll see here that Aave's token system has evolved since its launch, right? Aave token replaced the original lend token. So this tells us that Aave used to be called lend before, but then they replaced lend with Aave because lend had way too much supply. So they had to work on their supply because it was way too high, and it would have caused even more inflation. So back to what we were about to say. What we wanted to highlight with this is that lend and Aave are the same. So let's not get confused, right? So if we go back here, it will make sense now. So depreciating lend, that's what it was called before, but now it's Aave. So we're on the same page. So they want to work on the inflation challenge that they're facing by implementing Aavenomics or tokenomics or monetary system, you can call it how you want, to provide a solution to their inflationary tokenomics that they have, especially being having a staking platform. So not only are they working on sustainable staking distributions, but they also want to work on the inflationary mechanism that they have in place right now. Now, the third one is, guess what? It's liquidity management. So they also want to work on ensuring that there is enough liquidity, that they can retain liquidity so that they can attract traders, and traders are can comfortably be trading on their platform using their token because they have enough liquidity. So we, first of all, we identify very easily here that after 6.5 years and finally seeing the light, Aave realized that we need to address these challenges that exist in the space, starting with updating our Aavenomics or monetary system, like I like to call them. And it started with, they want to have sustainable staking distributions. They want to tackle inflation by depreciating their token, lend. They still call it lend, but it's Aave. And they want to also retain liquidity. So obviously we see here what we've been talking about for the last 2 years. These are the challenges, community, that we've been educating on week in, week out, month in, month out throughout the last 2 years. And it's beautiful to see that finally protocols are finally really starting to identify these 4 challenges in the industry, and that you can't, the only way to keep up to date and be relevant, especially as a staking platform, you need to address these 4 challenges that we've been talking about. And it's beautiful to see that Aave, the largest lending platform, second largest protocol in the entire industry based on total value locked, and the 33rd largest application cryptocurrency in the industry, finally is working on addressing 3 challenges out of the 4, right? And the 4th one is using your volume efficiently to do this. So this is the challenges that we've been talking about that are in the industry, and it's beautiful to see that one of the larger protocols are literally addressing it. So let's also make an example. Why are these challenges so important? Starting with liquidity. To identify the importance of these challenges that we face, we can really turn to the real world. And what better place to learn than from the best in the industry? If you want to learn, go to the proven concept, go to the best of the industry. That's where you want to learn and see whether they still have challenges that you can improve on, or they have doing things right that we can learn and take away from. So we had this conversation in our last community event. This is the website of the Swiss National Bank, right? This is the most successful central bank in the world, hands down. And simply because they're unorthodox, they go against the flow, they go against the stream, they go against the status quo, meaning that the global monetary system is based on debt, based on inflation, based on loss of purchasing power, right? So debt moves the market. Swiss National Bank say, no, we're turning everything upside down. They're holding liquidity. They are liquidity-based monetary system. Don't take my word for it. This is their website. You can go to it, snb.ch. What do they write, even in English right here? Why does the Swiss National Bank hold billions worth of assets? Why? And how does it manage these assets? They know people have questions. Why are they so liquid? Why are they focusing so much on liquidity? We're about to find out. I'm not going to go into details. I'm just going to summarize this, right? So the Swiss National Bank has a balance sheet worth several hundreds of billions of Swiss francs. Now, keep in mind, there are some nations that don't even have hundreds of billions in GDP, let alone hundreds of billions on their balance sheet. And let's look at what they have on their balance sheet. So the largest share of Swiss national asset is in what? Foreign currencies, currency reserves. This is what they have most of, majority, 90% are their foreign currencies. So they're extremely liquid. Keep in mind, we are highlighting what the importance of liquidity, and we identifying the only central bank that is literally the most liquid central bank in the entire world. And how they have a whole new monetary system, and they're turning the existing one upside down, and it's working. So anyway, what else do they hold? They also hold, and why do they do this? Because they hold it as a consequence to implement its monetary policy. How beautiful is that? They are telling you that, of course, we have to hold liquid assets in our reserves. How else will we implement our monetary policy? Our monetary policy is based on liquidity, liquid assets. They're telling us this out of the gate. You can save hundreds of thousands on going to university, and understand this right now, that in order to run the central bank smoothly, you need to have liquid assets. You need to be liquid, right? And there's no other way to implement a clean, a sustainable, and efficient monetary policy if you're not liquid. They're literally telling us their blueprint right in the first sentence. So again, why is the Swiss National Bank sheet so big? We're not going into details. Let's get right into the topic here. The reason why is because the Swiss National Bank, they want to counter a rise in inflationary pressure. This is all we need to know. They're literally telling you why they have it, why they have that. What is the largest asset? Is liquid assets, currency reserves. It's because they want to efficiently implement the monetary system. And then they're telling you even why, and they're telling you because we want to counter a rise in inflationary pressure. There's really nothing else we need to take away from this website. This is all we need to know. And you wonder how large is their currency reserves? It started at 85 billion Swiss francs by the end of 2007. By the end of 2021, when the world was in panic, in chaos due to the pandemic, they had liquidity of 1,000 billion. So this is 1 trillion Swiss francs. 1 trillion Swiss francs in liquid assets, in foreign currencies. So this is a war chest that every central bank would admire. While others start the year with $1 trillion in deficit, Switzerland, the Swiss National Bank, they have this on their balance sheet to move the monetary system. So they're not depending on just shifting interest rates and letting the market and moving the markets that way, so people can front run and manipulate and do all that stuff based on the interest rates that the Feds are setting. But rather, they are using the true power, which is liquidity, to control and stabilize their currency. Instead of using interest rate, they are using literally the liquidity at their disposal. That's more efficient, it's more powerful, more effective. And how effective is that? Let's understand what else they have before we leave this website. They have gold as well, right? As their assets, they have gold and stocks as well. Let's understand that right here. So the currency reserves consist mainly of foreign currency, like we said, the bonds, equities, which are stocks, and gold, right? So those are the three items. But let's not take their word for it. Let's take it a step further. And let's be really nerdy here. Let's look at their financial statements. Because why? They're transparent. They're a publicly traded company. And it's the only central bank that is literally traded on the stock exchange. So they're being audited yearly, right? So they have actually quarterly. They're being audited quarterly, not just yearly. So this is one of the balance sheet. I'm not going to bore you with anything. I just want us to look at their gold holdings. It's only 56 billion, right? Only 56 billion. Why am I saying only? Because if you look in comparison how much their foreign currency reserves is, like we said, it's at 800 billion. So as we speak, they're sitting on over 800 billion Swiss francs in foreign currencies, and they come in they're euros, US dollars, and other currencies as well. So this just shows you that they're focusing on liquidity. Look at their liability. They barely have any liabilities. Liabilities are debt. So this is just another proof that if you look at the balance sheet of the Swiss National Bank that is audited every 3 months, and it's traded on the stock exchange, you see that they barely have any liabilities, but they have 800 billion in foreign currency, which is liquid cash in liquidity. This is all I want us to look at here. So this might not make a lot of sense right now, how much that is. So right now, of course, I always want us to be accurate. Let's verify. So I just made a quick Google search to really verify how much money do the Swiss really have in foreign exchange reserves, right? And it's 736 billion that they have. Now that doesn't tell us much, right? So let's use a calculator here so that we have this number in dollar terms, right? So how much is 736 billion Swiss francs? How much is that in US dollars? So we see that it's at 832 billion. So we just verified that indeed it's true. This is how much they have sitting in liquid assets right now in foreign currencies. And this might not tell us much either. So let's look at another chart so that we really understand the impact of this. Every country has a GDP. It's a gross domestic product. This means the output that the country is putting out. All the goods and services, exports, the revenue that the country is generating based on their goods and services, the entire output based on annual output. We see that Switzerland's own is at 878. That's like their total GDP that they have, 878 billion, right? Now, do you remember how much they have in cash right now? Over 800 billion in dollars. So to put it into perspective, what it takes Switzerland to produce throughout 12 months, they have sitting right now as we speak on their balance sheet. This is how impactful liquidity is. This is how they can easily, this is why they've been always having such a stable currency, because they can easily stabilize their currency because they have just as much liquidity than the entire country produces in 12 months at any given moment. There is no other central bank like this. Because why? We in a debt-driven monetary system, and they are focusing on a liquidity-driven monetary system. And if you control the liquidity, you control the nation, you control the world. We always talked about this. And this is just another verification of the power of liquidity. So, but that's not enough for us. Let's take it even further. If we look at, in comparison, other foreign countries, and let's focus on their foreign exchange reserves, right? We look at China and Japan. China, of course, they're the world's largest surplus traders in the world. Every country, so to speak, is importing from China. So it's no surprise that they are sitting at $3.6 trillion in foreign exchange reserves. Second is Japan at 1.2. Ironically, Switzerland is not even listed here, but if there were, they would be only behind Japan and China, because they have, like we just saw, over $800 billion in foreign reserves. This might not tell us much. So let's look at some numbers so that everything makes sense to us. So Switzerland is a small country in comparison to China and Japan. How large is China's population? 1.4 billion, right? That's how large the population is. It's roughly over 17% of the world population, right? And Japan, which is on the second place in terms of foreign currency reserves, they're at 124 million in population, roughly 1.5% in world population. Now, for the numbers to make sense, for these numbers to make sense, I had to show us those numbers, right? So China, obviously, the largest population in the world, the largest traders in the world, it's natural that they have 3.6 trillion. Japan is, like we saw, the fifth largest or sixth largest nation in population, 124 million. They're sitting at 1.2. They're also a country with a lot of exports and trading surplus as well. But now Switzerland would be the third largest. But now let's compare Switzerland's population. And this is where it's really mind-boggling. Switzerland's population only sits at right below 9 million, so 8.8 million in population. So it's significantly smaller than even just Japan, let alone China. But nonetheless, they are the third largest country with the most reserve. And this is extremely impressive. This is exactly what we wanted to highlight. And this is what we wanted to show, that indeed, Switzerland is on a liquidity-driven monetary system, right? So let's move forward from that. We just identified the challenges in the industry. We just identified what are the largest applications in the industry. We identified that Aave is working on the 3 challenges out of the 4 that are literally important for a staking platform to be efficient and sustainable in the long term. And it's beautiful to see that. So let's now focus on today. What's the App Store moment? And where is that going to take place? Right now, let's jump into Ethereum. That's where it's going to take place. And let's kickstart with this beautiful article here. And of course, we're not just going to take the article's word for it. We're going to try and verify every single comment here, statement. We have to verify and triple check it, right? Let's be critical. So there is this new company known as Bionexus. It became the first NASDAQ listed firm to adopt Ethereum. First of all, NASDAQ is only behind New York Stock Exchange. It's the second largest exchange, not just in the US, but in the world. And here now is a tech company, biotech company, Bionexus. It's actually registered in Wyoming in the US. And we'll get into more details, but the bottom line here is that finally it's one that is listed on the NASDAQ and that is pursuing an Ethereum-based treasury. So it's literally taking the game plan of strategy, they're called strategy now, not micro strategy. It does that with Bitcoin, but now they're doing this with Ethereum, right? And the beautiful thing about this is they're even telling you why. And that's where the interesting part really is. So here we have a biotech company that is listed on the NASDAQ stock exchange, the second largest exchange in the world, that is choosing Ethereum over Bitcoin, right? For their treasury asset strategy. So it's exclusive. The treasury strategy is exclusive for Ethereum, right? And they chose Ethereum over Bitcoin. Now, the interesting part about this is this right here. Why? If you ask yourselves, why are you doing this? Why not Bitcoin? Everybody's jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon. Why are you doing this? And they're citing staking. This is not a surprise. Ethereum is a proof of stake, uses as proof of stake mechanism. Like we looked at other top 10 and beyond applications, they're all based on staking. From the top 10 that we focused on, all 10 of them are staking. Every application on Ethereum is a proof of stake, meaning staking plays a major role to stabilize, secure the ecosystem. So it's no surprise. This is the first reason why, is because staking. Secondly, DeFi, decentralized finance. There's another reason that they say. Third one is applications. Interesting. They identify that the Ethereum supposedly is the layer of application, right? And they want to be part of that app store moment that we talk about, right? That's what they want to be part of. They identify that, hey, Ethereum is the layer of applications. And also it has staking. We can earn something from it. DeFi are products that can be built on, and US being the largest financial economy, right? They jumping and doing things on blockchain, on Ethereum, would be a major move. So let's see what's coming and front run the opportunity. So applications, DeFi, staking, and other futures as reasons to choose Ethereum over Bitcoin, right? These sound all great, but let's be critical. We'll verify every single fact of this, if these are facts, right? So another thing that they said is that the Pectra upgrade, which is coming next month in April, is going to go live. So these are the sightings that they said, right? It's staking, DeFi, applications, and also because Ethereum just keeps upgrading and bettering. Keep in mind, blockchains are softwares. And even on our mobile phones, we experience updates, requirements every now and then. So that makes sense, right? So if we go here further, it's repetitive here. So we're not going to go through this again. But one thing that we didn't see here is that they say that it's a settlement layer for trillions of dollars in stable coins, right? And also it has an ever-evolving decentralized application ecosystem. Again, the app store moment, right? So if you identify these things, that trillions of dollars are getting ready to be traded on there, and the more volume, the more deflationary it becomes. Also, it's a layer of application, and it does have an unlimited potential of decentralized applications that can be built on top of it, right? So these are the reasons why it was chosen. And also, Ethereum offers high liquidity, surprise, surprise, liquidity for any business or any government body, for any central bank, like we saw Switzerland. I'm sure Switzerland will agree with their choice that they make, because they need something that is extremely liquid, right? And it has utility, meaning you can do things with it, and there's stability. And stability comes because the liquidity and utility is staking. So if you have liquidity and staking capabilities, you automatically really will enjoy the stability. And that's the plus that this ecosystem has, and it has the mechanisms to do that. So another thing that I want us to really highlight here is this right here. Let's just call it how it is, right? So, and this is what they're highlighting. Another part is highlighted. It highlighted was that unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum offers staking rewards, which the BioNexus nodes, right, can passively generate an attractive 3 to 5% annual yield. So who doesn't want a treasury strategy of an asset that the more volume, the more adaptation it has, and it's offering the deepest DeFi platform and application platform, and the more it's adopted, the more liquid, the more volume it generates, and the more volume it generates, the more consistent of the yield that it puts out. So this is what they say is literally standing out for them, and this is what you need for our treasury strategy, is that you can have an asset that is literally giving you annual yields, that gives you literally generates a passive income for you, right? So another thing here is that the update that we say about, let's stick to this right here. Let's verify this. How important is this really? To answer this question, community, I would like us to now keep in mind, they're focusing on another part is that unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum offers staking rewards, 3 to 5% annual. Now, I don't want us to assume things, but let's say that the reason why there were states, of course, the US states, many wanted the bill and applied for it, but many were rejected. The bill has Bitcoin as a reserve. So we can assume that the company BioNexus was not the only ones that identified that, or rather chose as a treasury strategy, wants to choose Ethereum over Bitcoin. And this is not an Ethereum is bad, Bitcoin is bad. This has nothing to do with good or bad. This is just fundamentals that we're talking about. We're discussing fundamentals here, right? We are not Ethereum maxis, not Bitcoin maxis. We are here for the blockchain technology. We're just trying to make a point here. So just to get that out of the way. So Bitcoin reserves were rejected. The bills were rejected by a few states in the US. And amongst others is the Wyoming state itself, where they're focusing more on stable coins, and they have already very favorable regulations in terms of digital assets. So I want us to focus on this state known as Montana specifically, for no other reason than for this number right here. So what they were suggesting is that, why don't we allocate up to 50 million in public funds for Bitcoin, right? So this is what they were suggesting. This was the bill was all about. So they want to use 50 million annually out of public funds to buy Bitcoin. So for us, these things don't make sense unless we verify. Let's make sense out of all of this. And we can achieve this with simple math, right? Very simple math. So before, let's send some ground fundamentals here. So we understand that the whole idea of Senator Lemus was that purchase Bitcoin and hold it for 20 years and never sell it. Just buy it and hold it for 20 years, 20, right? So let's use that as our foundation. So let's take the 50 million and then multiply by 20, and we'll get a number and see how much that is, right? So if we take the 50 million, and this is annually, every year 50 million to buy Bitcoin, right? So we do this times 20, and after 20 years, we spent, well, not we, but the state would have spent $1 billion, right, to purchase Bitcoin. So after 20 years, just for the sake of math, they have $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, because they've been buying everything else remaining the same, assuming that, right? They will have $1 billion worth of Bitcoin after 20 years. And during these 20 years, they've been the one spending. They've been just the ones spending, putting money in, and nothing else. They'll be just buying and holding for 20 years. Finally, 20 years, 20th year is here. Let's celebrate $1 billion in the treasury, right? In the reserve, Bitcoin reserve. Now, also, let's assume, for the sake of math, that Bitcoin within these 20 years did a 10x, right? So let's do some math here. Keep in mind 1 billion, right? So we started with 50 million. We started with 50 million, the very first purchase. Let's say that 50 million that we invested, let's multiply by 10. So within this 20 years, the initial 50 that we put in is now, let's say, Bitcoin 10x, and now it's 500 million, right? So let's add the 500 million to the billion, because we paid $1 billion to purchase. This state paid $1 billion to purchase Bitcoin. 50 million over 20 years is $1 billion, and Bitcoin 10x. So it went from 50 million to 500 million. So now we have $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin reserve after 20 years, right? So this is beautiful. But now what? Right? So we've been just spending. But now what do we get out of it now? So to make most of it, what do? We have to sell it, right? So how else will we use it? We have no other chance. We can sell it, or we can, that's what we do. That's currently what you can do. So now that we understand that, let's look at some numbers in terms of Ethereum. What does Ethereum do? Let's keep in mind 1.5 billion, right? So let's look at Ethereum, for example. And this is now where it gets interesting. And just as a reminder, keep in mind, this is the motivation here, right? So unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum offers staking rewards. Let's keep this in mind, and passively generates attractive 3 to 5% annual yields. Let's keep the numbers. Let's say 5. Like, let's take the number 5, just for the sake of math. So let's come back here and do the math. Now, this is something known as the compound interest calculator, right? So we want to understand the difference. And this is just, let's use our common sense. So let's look at 50 million. If we take the 50 million, same investment, right? This is 50 million, but now let's divide this by 12. Why are we dividing it by 12? Because we are putting in 4 million this is over the year, right? It's not like you invest one time at the beginning of the year. So we're putting it that you put in 4 million throughout the year, right? So by the end of the year, you've put in 50 million, just for the sake of math. So let's take 4 million, even number, right? So initial investment, we say it's 0, but after every month we put 4 million. Okay, how long? 20 years, like we said. And then interest, we say, let's pick 5, right? So now, and it's compounded every year, because it's every year you get 50 million spread out in increments of 4 million every single month. So let's calculate. To your surprise, the result is that after 20 years, you will have 1.5 billion, right? Does this sound familiar? It seems like the same thing, with Bitcoin, right? 1.5 billion. But now let's also be fair and say Ethereum as well did a 10x, right? So also let's add another 500 billion on top of this. 500 million, because just to be fair, right? So initial 50 million made a 10x, and now you have 2 billion, right? So this is 1.5 billion, and let's add another 500, because that's how much the value assumption that Ethereum also did a 10x during that period. So that would put us to 2 billion, right? But now the difference, let's look at the difference now. This is where it gets interesting with Ethereum. During the 20 years with Bitcoin, you're not getting nothing. You're not getting anything. You get 0. You're the one doing the spending. But with Ethereum, you actually, throughout the 20 years, you are actually getting 5%, right? So you're actually getting 2.5 million every year, just in passive income, just for staking. Throughout every year, throughout the 20 years, you are actually receiving 2.5 million. So year 1, you are receiving 2.5 million in year 1, just because you have ETH and you're staking. So you actually had a cash flow, literally, of 2.5 million. Bitcoin, you were just holding it. You're not getting anything. You're just putting in. So now this is year 1. Let's see how much is it after 20 years. So your initial investment that you made in year 1, you literally got it back, assuming that you didn't compound the 2.5 million. You were able to use it for your operational expenses for your company, whatever the case may be. So you got that 50 million actually back, right, after the 20 years in cash flow. However, now it's no more 50 million. Remember, we say that it's 1.5, and then you add it did a 10x, right? Like we see here, it did a 10x over the 20 years. Now you have 500 million, and we add that to the 1.5 billion interest compound we see here on the right side, right? After 20 years, you have 1.5 0.87, let's just call it even 2 billion, right? So now what happens? Now you have 2 billion, right? This is where it gets interesting now. After 20 years, with Bitcoin, you have 1.5, so $500 million less. And in order to use it, you have to sell it now. But now this way it gets interesting. With Bitcoin, with Ethereum, now you have your 2 billion. And now you can multiply it and by 5, now you get 100 million a year. Now it starts, you just by holding and staking the 2 billion worth of Ethereum, your company now is, your treasury is now making 100 million, right? 100 million every year, just passively added to your treasury, doing absolutely nothing. And you can start repeating the process. And now instead of 50, now you compound the 100 million. And you'll see where, but we're not going there now. We just wanted to make a point here that now, after 20 years, with Bitcoin, you have to sell it to get something out of it. But with Ethereum now, not only have you been receiving 2.5 million throughout the 20 years, but now after 20 years, you can be earning, the company will be getting a cash flow of 100 million just for holding Ethereum in the treasury, right? So this is the point that we wanted to make. And this is apparently something that probably others also highlighted and identified. And this might be the reason why, well, first of all, this is the reason why this company decided to opt for it, right? BioNexus. This is why they opted to jump on it. So you might say, but 100 million, that's not really much. That's not much. But if you look at the company's numbers right now, you'll identify that for them, it's going to make a major difference, because as of September 30th last year, the company's market cap, first of all, it's a micro stock. It's only 6 million, right? It has 6 million in market cap. And its revenue is 2.6 million, and its net income actually was negative 1.3 million. So for them to be able to go from negative and to have a treasury that yields 100 million passively for the foreseeable future into perpetuity, this is a strategy that they want to implement that will be beneficial to them. So that's the difference. And this is probably what others also identified. And this is why they highlighted that it's better to hold Ethereum due to its staking and yield-bearing capabilities. And it's a better treasury strategy. And let's summarize that again. So the board approved because of certain key factors. And these are the factors. So first of all, institutional credibility, right? So adoption of major financial institutions. And we'll verify these. What are these financial institutions? Among others, the ETF issuers, right? Like the BlackRocks, the Fidelities, and all of them. And then, of course, we just did the math here. Yield-bearing capabilities, meaning Ethereum's proof of stake system enables passive income through staking. So this is what we just went through. We verified this already and identified that it's, in terms of treasury strategy, it's way better, because MicroStrategy or strategy now, Michael Saylor, he keeps have to taking on debt, right? Even though it's at zero interest currently, but some of them are not at 0%, and he keeps diluting the shares, right, as well, because it's issuing more shares, diluting the shares, and purchasing Bitcoin with debt. But with Ethereum, you won't even have to touch debt. At a certain point, you won't even have to do that anymore. Now you literally have an income that is coming in, new liquidity, fresh liquidity for your treasury. Anyway, another thing is financial infrastructure dominance. We just saw that Ethereum really has trillions of dollars in stablecoin transactions that are lining up, right? And then the long-term scalability with the Ethereum upgrades and all that. So what I would like us to do here is to just focus now on, since we already identified the staking part. We already saw the upgrading part is coming next month. Now let's look at the infrastructure just briefly, and then I want us to close out this session with the adoption, right, with institutions, and let's look at which financial institutions are adopting it. So let's start by quickly running through the infrastructure dominance, right? Again, I would like us to use this right here. I'd like us to use DeFi Llama. So if we go to all community, we identify, let's look at stable coins. Stable coins right now, we see over 225 billion, almost 226 billion in stable coins. These are spread across all blockchains. But if we just zoom in on Ethereum, we realize that 121 is based on, so let's do this here. 121 out of 225, right? So if we do the math here, divided by 225, we'll quickly identify that over 53% of all the stable coins are literally on Ethereum, right? So more than half of it is already on Ethereum network. So now, this is what I want us to highlight. And also what I want us to look at is, you see the lending platform here, the second one, Aave is on the second place. It's only 2 billion away from being the top, right? And what I want us to understand is that it's going to be the top because why? Aave already partnered, right? They're integrated with BlackRock and with BlackRock's BUIDL token. So this alone is going to push them to be the top lending platform. And like we saw on the list, they're going to eventually become the protocol, the largest protocol in the entire industry, simply by partnering with BlackRock's BUIDL token. We'll get more into this later, but this just highlights how BlackRock is into DeFi. They already partnered with them, right? And they'll having, of course, token-backed short-term and U.S. Treasury bills, and they want to back their stablecoin, Aave ones, with BUIDL, with the BUIDL token. So what they'll be doing is they'll be using the excess stablecoin, a USDC that they have, and then use that USDC that they have to serve to mint more BUIDL token so that they can earn yield on it, right? Versus USDC that doesn't pay out yield. So this is the strategy that I want to use, and this is efficient and effective for a lending platform. So instead of just holding USDC, now you have BUIDL that is not just a stable coin like USDC, but it's a stable coin that is literally paying you for 3 to 5% yield, depending on the interest rate. So you literally it's literally paying off the debt that you take out. This is a whole other level, and this is in partnership with BlackRock. So it will take Aave to a whole different level, and we'll get into how effective BUIDL is, right? So now that we've discussed all of this, community, now let's understand, let's get to today's session. Let's close out like this. Keep in mind, we're looking at the App Store moment. This is a very vital moment. This is a very vital moment. And DeFi, actually, it all kickstarted with Bitcoin. We have to give Bitcoin credit, right, that it deserves. It started with Bitcoin, right? Just like mobile phones started with Nokia, just like cameras started with Kodak, just like GPUs, right, started with Xerox. You get the idea. Just like Microsoft Office actually started with Gary's. You get the idea, right? So Bitcoin started DeFi. And what were you able to do? You are able to control, to first of all own and control your value. And you are able to send it anywhere around the world, right? That's the technology. You own it, you control it, you can send it back and forth. That's what you can do, right? And you can do this in a large number of people, and you didn't need any trust. This was a major deal. This is revolutionary. However, Ethereum builds on top of this, and you can go beyond just storing and sending value back and forth. It's beyond that now. Now you can use smart contracts to do really, really special things, right? What can you do? You can do things like lend, borrow, long, short, or short, like different trades that you can do. You can earn interest. You can do all these various things, right? And this is just scratching the surface. Why are we highlighting this, community? Why are we highlighting that it started with Bitcoin? However, we want to go beyond. You can go beyond sending and storing value. You want to do more than just sending and storing value. That's what the technology of Bitcoin is. And let's fact check what I'm saying, because maybe that's all you want to do. Who am I to judge, right? But let's just go back in history and look at some things. If we remember back in the Nokia days, we were so happy, glad, humbled to be able to call and text, right? We're able to call, make calls, and text. But now with the invention of the smart contracts and with the enhanced mobile technology, now you can do more than just calling and texting. You can do so much more, right, than that. Now you are able to, for example, let's just briefly go through this. People are looking for jobs, like they're using it as a search engine for job, to find jobs, going through various applications, and they're using their mobile phones to get employment, right? And also you can use that same mobile phone to be a content creator, for example, and create content, record, film, make pictures and be creative and develop things. So there's so much more than you can do. What else? People using it on a daily basis to shop. You can use your smartphone to shop, right? And majority of people are using it to shop. What else can you do? Just simply to access the internet. Many use it to browse, get news, right? They get their news alert. They get their entertainment through streaming on these applications, such as Netflix, for example, or get some entertainment from TikTok or Instagram to socialize. We can go on and on. I believe you get the idea. So the world evolved from a phone just being able to call and text to now you can do a whole mirage of things, and we can't be a day, an hour without our smartphones now, because we do all our online banking, all our daily transactions, our social life, everything is around that smartphone. And the irony of this, and this is why the message out of this is, we are using our smartphones more on shopping, for looking for employment, internet, entertainment, being browsing, being watching, streaming movies, listening to music, or just reading news, getting information from. We're using it for more of these things than actually for what phones are developed for, just to call and text. Can you imagine that? So now that we understand that, if we go back here, this might now make more sense when it says that, yes, it's cute to be able to control your value and send it everywhere around the world any given day, trustless, and but you can go beyond just storing and sending value. You can go beyond that. So picture a voice of Steve Jobs telling you that, okay, it's good to be able to call and text, but what if I tell you that you can do more with that, right? So why not listen to the man himself, right? Don't take my word for it. Let's now get to the greedy things of things. This is the App Store moment, and this is the man and the legend himself, Steve Jobs. Let's see what he was saying and talking about, and let's see how this took place. And the irony I wanted to highlight here is that, look at the date, March 14th, 2008. Today is March 6th. So just 8 days and 17 years are separating us. 17 years ago, we experienced the world changed, the mobile industry, the phone industry changed forever for the good, and a whole new economy emerged out of it. Here we are, fast forward, and we are experiencing this same App Store moment. We are living it right in front of us. So let's briefly just go through and listen to the legend himself, what he's saying in regards to the App Store. This was a segment he made, a keynote, when he was representing the App Store to the world. Let's tune in real quick.
So you're a developer and you've just spent 2 weeks or maybe a little bit longer writing this amazing app. And what is your dream? Your dream is to get it in front of every iPhone user. And hopefully they love it and buy it, right? That's not possible today. Most developers don't have those kinds of resources. Even the big developers would have a hard time getting their app in front of every iPhone user. Well, we're going to solve that problem for every developer, big to small. And the way we're going to do it is what we call the App Store. This is an application we've written to deliver apps to the iPhone. And we're going to put it on every single iPhone with the next release of the software. And so our developers are going to be able to reach every iPhone user through the App Store. This is the way.
So this is all we really need to know to make the point. And iPhone sales really didn't flourish until the App Store came. App Store kick-started the iPhone sales. After this, the iPhone sales just went through the roof. And this was a whole new industry, new economy that developed out of it. And it was so it turned the iPhone into actually an application layer, literally. iPhone became an application layer where developers are developing and have access to liquidity, to individuals, eyeballs, attention at the fingerprint, at the tip of their hands, right? And this is the same thing we are experiencing today, that we are facing. Right now, we are at the brink of the same thing. Ethereum is the application layer of today. And this is what that first company also realized and say, hey, this is an application layer that you can do more than just shifting value around, right? Transferring back and forth. You can do more than that. And this is what you can do also more. Let's just quickly continue.
We're going to distribute apps to the iPhone. So let's take a look inside the App Store. It's got the 5 buttons across the bottom. So we have a featured section, which is the ones we're featuring. Just added, staff favorites. We've got categories here. If you want to find a game, if you want to find a business application, you want to.
All right. This is exactly making the point of what we were trying to make. This is what Ethereum does. It's beyond just sending and transferring and storing value. If it's business applications, education, entertainment, finance, gaming, health and fitness, lifestyle, music, these are all things that you can build, develop, deploy on top of this blockchain using smart contracts. This is exactly the point we're trying to make. This is what the App Store moment is all about. So it's not just about buying it and storing it and shifting it around without middlemen. You can do way more than that. And this is where the mobile technology have been around for decades prior to Steve Jobs coming with the App Store, right? It's been around for the longest. They were the last one to join the party. And same thing here right now, right? Bitcoin has been around for 16 years, right? But if you want business applications, education, entertainment, finance, games, healthcare, and all this lifestyle, music, and all these applications that are a layer that you can build on top, it is now that you can do it. It is now that you can develop it. And it's more, now you can use it for more than just moving and storing value, right? Storing and moving value around, you can do more than that. And this is exactly what it's about. You can do so much more. And this is where we really want to highlight that this is where the App Store moment should kick in. And we should understand that we're just scratching the surface. We've been just focusing on DeFi, for example. And what about gaming? What about entertainment? What about DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure? There's a whole world out there that is not even on chain yet. And there will be a whole new economy built on top of Ethereum once the regulations go through. So this is a layer that it's not just an asset, but it's a technology that you can invest in even, and that gives you yield, like we just did the calculations. And the more it's adopted, the more deflationary it gets. And if you stake it, it stabilizes and secures the network while you're earning passively. So it's not just an asset that you earn from, but it's also a platform that you can develop on. And because it has the most liquidity, like we saw, it has the most total locked value on there. It has the most developers, most users. Automatically, developers want to develop on a platform that has the most liquidity, the most users. That's what's interesting. That's why people are paying Google and Facebook and all of them for advertisement, because they have so many users and eyeballs on it. Same thing if it comes to smart contracts. Ethereum is the largest smart contract blockchain with the most liquidity, most developers, most users, most attention, most applications that are relevant. So we see the similarities here. And this happened almost to the date, just 8 days apart, 17 years ago. First keynote presentation by Steve Jobs, and he's no longer with us, as we know. And here we have the opportunity again to be part of another App Store moment. And we are in it already, and we are part of it. So why am I saying this? And I'm saying this because let's say there's a firm, a US firm agrees to buy Panama Canal, right? And Trump has been really very vocal about this. And I'm not going to get into details. All I want us to take away from here is that American company is the asset manager, right? The giant, BlackRock. They agreed yesterday, 2 days ago on Tuesday, to buy majority of the shares of the holders, from the holders of the current shares of the Panama Canal, right? And why was this? Why did he make this move? It's because Trump said in several times during his lead up to his inauguration that since he took office, that he wants to take back the Panama Canal, right? That's what he really wanted to do. And what moved him is that so-called the China had ownership over it. That's what his concern was, right? And we'll quickly realize why. So without getting in too much details, I want us to take away this, right? He was so keen on wanting Panama back, right? That he said that, and we didn't give it to China, we gave it to Panama, and we want it back. He wanted it back. And how bad did he want Panama back? He was willing to use military force, right? Or economic coercion, like he's been doing, like throwing around tariffs, right? And he was willing to put in, and he's not the one known for military force for war, but he was willing to go to war for this, right? Until one of his advisors tapped him on the shoulder and told him, hey, I know someone that is tougher than any tariffs that you can place on a country and has more power and influence than any army in the world. And he comes by the name of Larry Fink. Why don't we give him a call, right? Why don't we give him a call and see what he can do for us? A few moments later, the deal was announced on Tuesday, and BlackRock closed it out, right? Just below 23 billion, and they bought the ports of Balboa and Cristobal, and so on and so forth, right? and it was called an agreement in principle. So how did he do it? How did Larry Fink manage to do something that Trump was willing to go to war for, or even place even more tariffs on? How did Larry Fink get this done? And he's proudly telling you, first of all, he's saying that these world-class ports facilitate global growth, right? It's all about the growth. Now, how did he do it? He did it through his deep connectivity to organizations and governments around the world. This individual is highly connected, very influential, right? And this is how he got this done. And why did he get this done? He was collecting himself a favor. And he saw that the president wanted it back so badly, and on a national level, couldn't get it done through politics. But if you have the liquidity, you can move things and get things done. And if you have the influence and power to go along with it, right? If you're well connected with organizations and governments, you can get a lot of things done. And Larry Fink get things done because the asset management company that he's managing accounts for 40% of the United States. You picture that. US has the largest economy in the entire world. And one company led by one individual holds 40% of that in terms of managed assets under management. This is huge, right? Just to show the strength that he has, the influence. But to make this even make more sense, I want us to look at some other pair of numbers and why this was so important. So all trades that take place in the US, all trades, maritime trades, right, including container traffic, accounts for 40% that are passing through the Panama Canal. So this is just to show you how much influence BlackRock has right now. And to get that done, something that is so political, something that is involved many governments and was ready to go to war for it, but was settled in no time, without war, without any tariffs, very easy, straightforward, and quick and clean, done. Done. This was literally a demonstration of power. This was to show that this agreement is literally a powerful illustration of BlackRock. You might ask yourself, well, Steve, why are you highlighting this? Why are you stressing so much and showing us how powerful BlackRock is and how influential Larry Fink is? It's because now he came back to Trump and told him, okay, remember the wars and the money, the finance, all that cost? I robbed your back, literally. I'm robbing your back and I robbed it. Now I'm coming here for a small favor that I need from you. I just need a small favor from you as well. Trump says, no problem. Anything you want, you name it, you get it, right? You got the situation taken care of for me, I'll take care of you as well, right? So aren't we curious, what favor does Larry Fink want? What does he want? What do we think that he wants? And let me not speak on his behalf. Let's hear for ourselves. Let's listen to what he wants. What was his favor, right? What will Larry get? Let's tune in real quick.
As a huge believer of crypto and blockchain and tokenization, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks. That will.
So it was very straightforward and clear. He believes, first of all, in the blockchain technology, and he wants SEC to approve tokenization of bonds, US Treasury bills, and stocks. He wants to tokenize assets. So what a coincidence that the canal that accounts for 40% of all US trades in and out is now owned by BlackRock. The same individual who wants to tokenize real world assets beyond the obvious, which is bonds and stocks. So this is what he wants. This is what he came back and said, okay, I took care of you. I robbed your back. Now it's your turn to rob mine. Okay. And he's going to get his way. It's going to happen. And why is that the case? And now we get into the infrastructure part. In order, like Steve Jobs said, no developer can develop on a platform where there's no infrastructure. You want to develop where there is growth, there's development, infrastructure is ready. And not just some random infrastructures led by meme coins from pump.fun, but led by real, well-established, powerful institutions. Here we are again, BlackRock, the same company that literally made the unthinkable happen. And there was no wars, there was no tariffs involved. It was clean, on the point, and they got what they wanted. And he got it done for the president. The president would not been able to do it on his own, but Larry did, because he's well connected, both with corporations and governments all over the world. He got it done. So this tokenizing assets, having regulatory regulations in place in his favor, is not going to be a big deal. So again, BlackRock now already went ahead and launched, like we know, the tokenized liquidity fund. Why? Because they want to tokenize bonds and stocks, and these bonds and stocks will need liquidity. And he came up with the BIDL token and deployed it on Ethereum, of course on Ethereum, where else? And they're building infrastructures here, getting everything lined up and ready. Now, this is where it gets interesting. If we come here and we see what BIDL really is, BIDL is a stable coin with a stable value at $1 per token, right? And it's using 100% of its assets to purchase, again, US Treasury bills, which are bonds. His request is that he wants tokenization of bonds, which are Treasury bills, and stocks. And this is exactly why he went ahead and created a tokenized liquidity fund known as BIDL. And it's a stable coin, actually, that is purchasing tokenized version of Treasury bills, which is bond, on the blockchain that will be traded 24/7, 365 on the Ethereum blockchain. This is the most powerful company in the world, led by the most influential individual in the world, and they chose Ethereum to be their home. And let's not stop by that. It's not just BlackRock, but infrastructure can't work without Visa. If you don't have Visa and MasterCard, what are you doing? There's nothing you can do on a global scale. These individuals have a network of 15,000 financial institutions. They are across more than 200 countries and territories. They're applying the expertise, right, in this new technology, the blockchain technology, using smart contracts to enable banks to issue and transfer fiat-backed tokens on the blockchain, also known as stablecoins. And where are they doing this? They're doing it on the public Ethereum blockchain. Visa, BlackRock, as we know, they chose Ethereum to do that, to build their infrastructure. So they're preparing developers and users alike to come together and be able to use a platform, which is Ethereum, that has all the infrastructure in place. That is easy. But don't take my word for it. We know all about this, but let's just briefly go through it. So MasterCard, the second largest payment processor, they went ahead and partnered with JP Morgan, which happens to be the largest bank in the world, as we know, right? And JP Morgan, of course, they already on Ethereum as well. They have the Onyx blockchain, which is Ethereum based. It's also on Ethereum. And why are they doing this? It's because JP Morgan is going to use the tokenized BlackRock shares, right, as collateral. What's the point of having tokenized assets through BUIDL, backed by BUIDL, if you can't use them as collateral? That's the whole network infrastructure that they're building. So liquidity is there, the infrastructure is there, the payment processing is there, and it's led by the most powerful company and the most influential individual in the world, the largest bank in the world, the two largest payment processors in the world, and they're working and building and built already the infrastructure already. Do we see now the repetition, how story is repeating itself? This is what Steve Jobs was telling people, that he built a new layer of application where the world can come and congregate, and you can do more than just place a call. In crypto time, you can do more than just move around and shift around value. You can record, you can browse the web, you can do business on there, you can trade, invest, exchange, borrow, lend. You can do all these various things on one global platform that is open source and decentralized. The difference is iPhone obviously is centralized and it's closed source. They can kick you out anytime they want. But Ethereum, who's going to kick you out? It's a decentralized application, right? And you can develop and deploy it, your smart contracts and these products and layer of application, and you need an infrastructure. And Apple provided that. They had the infrastructure in place. Developers didn't have to worry about that. It was in place. And this is exactly, history is repeating itself again. Now it's not called App Store or Apple. Now it's called Ethereum, right? Now it is Ethereum. And as we know, their website, they already are letting us know what they are all about, right? It's to connect institutions to the Ethereum ecosystem. What a coincidence is this? It's just the same way that iPhone was connecting us into their ecosystem, and we can't get out of it now. Why? It's so comfortable now. We have everything we need. The infrastructure is so solid, it's so convenient, we're not going anywhere. And this is exactly the game plan of Ethereum. They want to make it very convenient, very comfortable, and the leading players are BlackRock, JP Morgan, Visa, MasterCard. They're already there, built the infrastructure, have everything lined up. The entire financial system is getting ready to be deployed on Ethereum, while people are still debating interest rates being cut or raised and all so on and so forth. So the reason why it's Ethereum, back to what we discussed at the beginning when we were looking at the Swiss central bank to close out this, gold has just a small fraction to this. It really doesn't play much. It doesn't really say much, right? But what I want us to understand here is that if we look at this, let's come to this right here. If you look at the assets again, let's focus on the blue one. What is it? Gold is in maroon, right? Barely scratching the surface. But foreign currencies, over 800 billion, like we saw, they are liquid. The assets are liquid. They are liquidity driven. They have a liquidity driven monetary system. This is the point, that the takeaway here. You're no longer on a debt driven monetary system, but you're on a monetary system that is liquidity. You're buying bonds and you're earning yield from these bonds, and you accumulate them. And if it's time to stabilize your currency, you can do that, because now you have $1 billion or 1 billion Swiss francs worth of foreign currencies of liquidity to do so. And your only goal is to stabilize, to implement monetary policy. And the only way to do that is through liquid assets that generate cash flow. And like we just did the math and showed us here, Ethereum is the only asset that fits that bill. Because unlike foreign currencies, like if we go back to this chart without being too nerdy, it shows us how inflation is eating up the fiat currencies. And this is why Swiss franc balance sheet went from 1 trillion Swiss francs and it's dropping, because if you see these various fiat currencies, they've been dipping because their fiat are inflation driven. So they are losing their liquidity due to currency exchange, because their fiat is inflationary. So they're losing their value, right? Because they're holding all these foreign exchanges that are inflationary. Now you have an asset that actually is a technology at the same time, and the more it's adopted, the more deflationary it becomes. And this is why it's the perfect reserve asset that you can have. We did the math right now earlier, and they pay you 3 to 5% annual yield passively, unlike Bitcoin. And it's part of the mechanism. It's not like you're handing it over and they have to invest it somewhere else. It's to secure the network and to stabilize the network. It's a proof of stake, just like miners of Bitcoin are mining Bitcoin to stabilize Bitcoin. Proof of stake is you have to stake. And to incentivize staking, you have to have some sort of incentives, right? And this is what it's about, community. And this is the first company that decided to see the light and really highlighted the facts. They see that staking is the number one, first of all. And for a treasury, you need a treasury that is liquid. We saw Switzerland, but with Switzerland, because the fiat they're holding, what, $1 trillion or 800 billion is inflationary. So this is why they losing in value over time. But with Ethereum, not only are you getting the staking distributions, but it's a technology that is being built on top. It's an application layer, and it becomes deflationary. So you don't have to worry about the inflationary challenges of a fiat currency. So guess what central banks, or in this case institutions, want on their balance sheet or want in the reserve as a reserve? They want an asset that is deflationary, and at the same time is a technology that is scalable, and you can build unlimited application, build an entire economy on top of it, while when you're providing security and stability, you get incentivized. At 3 to 5% annual rate, like we did the math. So this is the message for today, community. And we are literally going through an app store moment, like we just saw. Infrastructures are being built on the back of Ethereum, and not by some random meme coins, but by BlackRock. And Larry Fink chose Ethereum to do that. We just saw if he can accomplish purchasing 90% of the shares of the Panama Canal without causing war and tariffs, something that Trump couldn't even accomplish on his own. And he chose Ethereum, and his desire, we saw his wish. He said, I just want SEC to allow tokenization, and everything else is lined up. BlackRock is lined up. JP Morgan is lined up with the collateral network that they have, and we know Visa and MasterCard also lined up already. So everything is working towards the best of our interest, community. So we can't close out without zooming in now on our ecosystem, and just to highlight that the importance of the challenges. And if you don't understand the challenges, like we saw here, Aave finally saw the light. And this is a proposal. It's just a proposal. They haven't even passed it through. Who knows? It might not be even passed through. because it's going through a DAO, right? And however, I'm just proud that they identified the challenge is real. And if they don't address this challenge, they're not going to be efficient and sustainable. And their staking percentage is going to remain extremely low. As we saw here, it's at 18% after 6.5 years. Why is this the case? Simply because smart money doesn't want to stake or hold anything that is inflationary. You lose your purchasing power. Why would I stake something and lock my tokens for years or months on a token that is every day it's becoming more and more inflationary, right? That's the same challenge Switzerland is facing with these foreign currencies. They're losing their power, their purchasing power, because the inflationary aspect of these liquid assets, of these liquid fiat currencies. And Ethereum, once in full effect and having trillions of dollars in volume in stablecoins, real world assets, so on and so forth, is going to permanently be deflationary and a better option as a reserve and to be on the balance sheet of central banks. And we saw that Switzerland is one that lays emphasis on liquid assets. So the more liquid your asset is, the more attractive you are. And pair that with yield. This is why a bond market is so large. Institutions, governments, central banks love treasury bills because they give you yield and they're liquid. They're the most liquid in a asset class in the world. And now imagine a technology also being an asset, and it's the most liquid in the world on Ethereum. And this is what companies already are seeing. This is what the companies already moving on in and telling people that unlike Bitcoin, Ethereum offers a way better strategy as a treasury, right? This is why it was chosen over Bitcoin. So again, this is not to bash Bitcoin, but just to understand, for us to understand that if you don't have an ecosystem community that is addressing these four challenges we've been talking about on a consistent basis, like we said, you need to retain liquidity. After 6.5 years, Aave is going back to the drawing board to address liquidity. We've been addressing this from day one, right? And not just through the obvious trades, but also through the 10% that we put at stake, so that the USDC can be used to restake, right? And then also we have a staking booster mechanism in place that you need to purchase 5 of them to have your 100% USDC distributions. And then this is how we're going to build a sustainable and healthy liquidity, because we're going to use the revenue from the staking boosters, NFTs, to feed into the liquidity pool. And then finally, the community itself can do the same thing like this mechanism does. For those who decide to stake, they can decide to restake their USDC, right? By purchasing VRL and restaking it, however you decide to do it. So we have 4 different ways just to retain liquidity. We have 4 different mechanisms in place. And if you retain liquidity, naturally you attract volume, and that brings stability. And it goes as a staking platform, like we saw, you need to be at least deflationary, if not scarce. And like we saw, if you have a staking platform and you have a mechanism in place that is scarce, not just deflationary, we started with 1 million in total supply, 1 million tokens. Now we are down 36,000 tokens are not just removed from circulation, but removed from the total supply. So the supply keeps shrinking, as you see here. And we have almost closing in on 70% of the supply is staked. So this is why it's important to find a way how you can still retain liquidity even though 70% of the supply is staked. This is the challenge that the SEC was faced with, and they were going back and forth to find a way how to solve this challenge. How do you retain liquidity when the supply is staked. This is why liquidity retention is so important, community. And we have 4 different ways to do so. As a staking platform, you need to maintain liquidity, and you need to have a deflationary supply, if not scarce supply like we do. And then last and finally, you need sustainable staking distributions as well. How else will you incentivize those who put their tokens at stake? Your staking distributions need to be sustainable. So the more liquidity you retain, the more volume you get. And the USDC distributions are based on the volume. The more volume, the more USDC distributions. The more volume, the more deflationary, the more scarce the supply. So this is how we're using the volume efficiently to accumulate USDC, to reduce the supply from total supply, and to also retain liquidity. This is something we did from day one, so we don't have to come after 6.5 years and try to put things together, right? And try to fix the plane while it's already up in the air, packed with passengers on board, right? It might not end well. So this is why it's important to do things the right way, and to ensure that we flip the script and choose a liquidity-driven monetary system like the Swiss National Bank has chosen and is doing extremely well with, instead of choosing a debt-driven monetary system and get in trouble after 250 years or under 6.5 years, or whatever the case may be. So community, this is it on our side. Let's come back to the comments that you might have in place for us. The takeaway here is that we are literally in an app store moment. We need to really embrace it and understand that this is the platform of choice. And if the most powerful institution, BlackRock, and its most influential founder, Larry Fink, that was able to pull up just 2 days ago, pull the unthinkable, and have so much power, more power than the largest economy's president. And they chose Ethereum to deploy tokenization, tokenized assets. And Trump owes him a favor. And he rubbed his back, and now Larry's back is getting ready to be rubbed as well. And he said it here very clear what he wants. Very clear, right?
No, I'm not. As a huge believer of crypto and blockchain and tokenization, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks.
We had it again. He believes in the blockchain technology, and he wants the SEC to approve tokenization of bonds and stocks. And this is why I already front run and as a tokenized fund, like we discussed. This is our session for today, community. You need a platform that is ready to address the 4 challenges from day one, from the start, and not later on after decades or centuries later, but from the very beginning. And with everything that is coming on our way, it's obvious to see that the platform of choice, where all the infrastructures are being prepared and developed, is literally on Ethereum. And this is exactly what we need to understand, community. This is what we just need to embrace, because it's in our best interest. We have the platform to take advantage and make the most out of this situation. And if your platform is not addressing these 4 challenges, you are not going to make the most out of it, right? So pick wisely what monetary system that you want to be on. These tokenomics should be viewed as monetary systems, and compare them to the current monetary system. And if the only central bank in the world that has their act together and chose liquidity-driven monetary system like the Swiss National Bank, we should learn from them, because they're the only stable fiat currency that is literally found a way how to make fiat work. And The only way they can make it work, they're putting it right on their website, is through liquidity, liquid assets. That's how they're doing it. They have the same amount of liquid assets as the entire yearly GDP. There's no other nation, no other central bank that has that type of liquidity. And we saw, as an example, another liquidity driven asset manager. And if you have liquidity, literally, if whoever controls the liquidity controls the world. And Larry Fink just proved it to us. You can be the president of the strongest country in the world, but if you don't have the liquidity, you don't have the power. You only make the rules if you hold liquidity, if you run it. And Larry Fink just proved it to the world on a global stage. And the Swiss bank is proving to every central bank on a global stage that liquidity is where it's at. Focus on liquidity-driven monetary system. That's the message of today. We're going through an app store moment, and Ethereum is the platform for that. So let's come to your comments, community, and so we can wrap up today's session. Great brother Theo says, greetings and happy Thursday. My great brother Steve, dearest great Queen Mama Wino, and my epic BRL family. What a title. I'm so happy, ready for this fire session to start. Thank you, great one. It's always a pleasure, my great brother Theo, to see you in the community. We appreciate your feedback. I hope that you are able to take away something from today's session. We appreciate you attending these sessions regularly and consistently. We appreciate you very much. We have Queen Val saying, hello, Bull Runners. Happy Thursday to us all. Happy Thursday to you as well, Queen Val. She says, thank you so much, Mr. Steve. And Queen Mother Wino for the tireless effort you show to the community. Can't wait to hear what Professor has in store today. Hope that you are able to take away something from today's session, Queen Val. And I see here, thank you also for posting the links, Telegram links to our Bull Run, Survivor, and Killer Whale Telegrams. So those who are new tuning in for the first time, feel free to join the community by using the links. We are happy to have you. If you feel like you want to be part of this movement, feel free. If you just want to tune in for the educational side of it and being informed, feel free as well. Also, on that note, I also want to highlight that none of what we say is financial advice. This is all to inform and educate, right, and inspire, so that we are not sentiment driven or emotional based on the market conditions, right? But we understand and know how forward and what the markets are doing and what the future of finance, on which platform that is, not based on wishful thinking and just hype and having that cult mentality, that maxi mentality, but based on facts, based on what BlackRock is doing, based on what Visa and MasterCard are doing, based on where BlackRock and JP Morgan decided to develop and launch their collateral network and tokenized assets on. That's the difference. The difference is these are facts and not just hypes to manipulate the market or wishful thinking based on a cult-like maxi mindset of a specific cryptocurrency, but rather based on what are facts, what are we seeing on the blockchain, what is happening as we speak, and what are the challenges that are being addressed as we speak. And that's the difference that's the added value that we bring to this industry. We have Queen Patricia says, evening family. Good evening, Mr. Steve. I'm glad to be here to listen and learn. We are very pleased to have you here, Queen Patricia. We're glad that you took your time to tune in and be part of this session. We're very much appreciated. Queen Patricia Father says, good evening, family, and good evening, Mr. Steve. I'm happy to be here to listen and learn from the best. What a privilege. Thank you, Steve. Stay blessed and protected always. Thank you so much, Queen Patricia. It's always a pleasure to have you in these sessions. We appreciate you leading by example and being a consistent participant in these events. We have Queen Lati says, greetings, Bullrun family. We are here again, waiting for the exciting moment on the crypto industry. Thank you to our developers, King Steve and Queen Awino, for their tireless efforts. Stay blessed. May you also be blessed, Queen Lati. We appreciate you very, very much for your inputs, your feedbacks, consistency. Very, very much appreciated. We have Queen Aloshi here as well. She says, greetings, Bullrun family. This is crucial season we are in, whether we therefore need the guidance of our able developer, Mr. Steve. We thank God for this opportunity. God bless you, Dev Steve and Queen Mother Owino. Thank you so much, Queen Aloshi. May you and yours also be safe. We thank you also for participating in these events consistently. We appreciate your feedback, and we are glad that you're able to take away something from today's session. Nick Spain says, hi, Steve. Greetings to you back, Nick. I hope you and yours are doing great. Happy to have you in this session today. Queen Esther says, hello, Bullrun family and our developers, King Steve and our amazing Queen Mom, ready for today's session. It's always a pleasure to see you in these sessions, Queen Esther. We appreciate your commitment, your consistency, and we value your time that you took to be part of these sessions so consistently as well. We have Queen Resogo says, good evening, family. I feel honored to be here today to learn from our best developer, Brother Steve. We are here to be empowered, educated, and inspired. May God guide you, Brother Steve. Thank you so much, Queen Resego. May the same be to you. May you and yours also be safe and blessed. We appreciate you taking your time to participate, and we hope that you are able to take away something from today's session. We have Queen Jane. I'm not sure if you're finished. I see you further down. Okay. I'll read it as we progress further down. Queen Joko says, good evening, Bullrun family. Thank you, Steve, for the imminent technology proposal to kickstart. Thank you so much for participating, Queen Joko. We appreciate your consistency as well. We are so pleased to have you within our ecosystem. We have Queen Debbie says, greetings, Bullrun community. Greetings right back at you too, Queen Debbie. We have Queen Emily says, hello, family. Greetings back to you too, Queen Emily. I hope you and yours are doing great. We have Queen Kube says, greetings, Bullrun family. Let's buckle up for another informative session. Thank you, Steve and Mama Wino, for affording us this opportunity. Thank you for affording us your time and being part of this session. And we hope that you're able to take away something from today's session. We have Queen Mother Wino herself saying, greetings to our amazing BRL family. The life of a man consists not in seeing visions and dreams, but in active charity and in willingness to serve others. This is so beautifully said, Mom. This is beautifully said, and this is our thesis. We always say that value is added, or wealthy is the one that knows how to add value to as many people as possible and to do it better than everybody else. So beautifully said, Mom. Very, very much appreciated for your feedback here. Father says, thanks to our awesome, active, and committed community members. Thanks, Steve, for your dedication and willingness to serve and educate the community. Knowledge is power. Thank you very much. Indeed, we have a very, very committed and active community. We couldn't be more proud of ourselves, community, of what we're doing, starting from the ground up, being consistent. Even though the market conditions don't give us the desired outcome that we would like, there's so much panic, there's so much confusion, there's so much uncertainty. But one thing we understand and know is that we're in the right place at the right time. Timing is everything. And like today's session highlighted once more, infrastructures are very important. And people go where there's infrastructure and liquidity. And there's that in abundance. BlackRock, JP Morgan, Visa, and MasterCard would have they have millions of cryptocurrencies to choose from, hundreds of blockchains to choose from, but they chose Ethereum for a reason. And you follow where the leaders go, right? The market leaders. if the market leaders, Visa and MasterCard, chose Ethereum, guess where else the others are going? When the largest asset manager in the world is choosing Ethereum, well, where do you go? If the largest bank based on market cap in the world, JP Morgan, chose Ethereum to build their collateral network to work together with the tokenized assets of BlackRock, where else do you go? Right? As a developer, of course, you're going to develop on Ethereum, knowing that the market movers and shakers are on Ethereum. So these are just things that we need to understand. And just because it's not talked about and celebrated like the meme coins are on a daily basis, doesn't mean that it's not happening. And unlike just based on hypes and emotions and sentiments, these are based on facts, right? These are facts. These developments are happening. So thank you so much, Queen Mama Wino, for your feedbacks. Queen Val says, thank you so much, Mr. Steve and Queen Mother, for the tireless efforts you show to the community. Can't wait to hear what our professor has in store for us today. Appreciate you very much as well, Queen Val, for your efforts, your commitment, your consistency as well. And I want to thank you and Queen Mama Wina, of course, as well, for all the banners, the tweets that you put out consistently on a daily basis. The least we can do is to engage with them and to push the awareness to everyone. So we appreciate you too very much. Queen Jane says it's another opportunity. We are here to hear from our own developer, Steve, and not forgetting our lovely Mama Wino. Always happy to hear from you. Let's walk this amazing journey together. Maintain blessed. Beautifully said, Queen Jane. There's really nothing else to add to this. You really brought it to the point. Let's walk this amazing journey together. That's all we need to do right now, right? Let's be level-headed. Let's be inspired. Let's be informed and educated. Let's stay away from being emotional, irrational, based on sentiments and all the noise on crypto Twitter. But let's stay vigilant. Let's stay focused. Let's understand that if it was easy, everybody would be coming in. The hard part is to be still. Be still, and while we're being still, we're being active and committed and consistent, and eventually good things come to the patient, right? And to the hard working, to the commitment, and to consistency. Consistency brings result, and we've been doing that for years now, right? So thank you very much, Queen Jane. Very much appreciated. We have Queen Mel saying, greetings, Puran family. Greetings, Mr. Steve and Queen Mama Wino. Another day of learning and informative education is indeed the key of success. Beautifully said, Queen Mel. Absolutely. Key to success is being informed and educated. Lack of knowledge messed up many people, especially in this industry, caused them to be overreacting, overly emotional and sentiment driven, instead of being rational, calm and collected, based on the strength and confidence they have in the knowledge and information that they have. So we can always rely on common sense and knowledge, right? Unfortunately, that's a very scarce commodity that goes around these days. We have Queen Becca says, Queen Marilyn, great presentation. Thank you so much for your feedback. Glad that you're able to take away something from today's session. Uncle George says, good evening, Steve, Queen Mother Wino, and our Bullrun community. Today's topic is spot on. The crypto infrastructure is improving each passing day. Long live Bullrun ecosystem, cryptos of choice. Thank you so much for your feedback, Uncle George. You're very much appreciated for your leadership, your consistency as well, your positive energy as well, and great feedback. It's true. You know, we all need to strive to be on the same page and to really understand this industry. There's so much to learn, and we have knowledge, we have brain power in this community, right? We can learn, each and everyone can learn from each other. And this is why we do these daily, weekly events, so that we're on the same page. Queen Grace says, hello, Bullrun family. Thank you, our dev, for your consistency. Our ecosystem is all set. We are a liquidity-driven system. This is Beautifully said, Queen Grace. And this is absolutely a great way to really summarize all of this, right? We looked at two examples, like Queen Grace just highlighted again here. Ecosystem is set because it's based on liquidity. It's liquidity driven. We always like to double check and triple check, right? Verify. We verified, looked at Swiss National Bank. What monetary system do they have as a central bank? Liquidity driven. We moved over and looked at how much influence and power does BlackRock and Larry Fink have, and why? Because they hold 40% of the world's largest economy's GDP. And if the one who holds the liquidity runs the world. We had a whole session dedicated to that. So we understand that if you have liquidity, not only are you the strongest and most battle-tested central bank of 120 years in terms of Switzerland, Swiss National Bank, but you also have influence. You can avoid wars and tariffs with liquidity. Gives you influence. Just holding liquidity, you literally run the world. So let's understand and embrace that community. So beautifully said, Queen Grace. We are a liquidity driven system. That's the most important thing, because who has liquidity literally runs the world and has influence, and also has a sustainable way of running a monetary system. And we have my great brother Theo here. What a phenomenal session. Wow. I ask as we understand and I ask as we understand more and more the importance of focusing on liquidity-driven monetary system. Do you envision that eventually the debt-driven system will one day be a thing of the past? Absolutely. I mean, undoubtedly. There is no other way. The only monetary system that is liquidity-driven is the Swiss National Bank. Now, keep in mind, unlike Singapore or Kuwait, Dubai, and all these other sovereign wealth driven economies, they are based on either like China as well, right? We saw China, they're the number one. They have like 3.6 trillion just in foreign currencies. The other ones are commodity driven, right? They have excess assets in oil. But nonetheless, if it comes to how you manage your monetary system, Switzerland has no match, because they are liquidity driven. And all these other debt driven monetary systems, we see how they collapsed. The Deutsche Mark, the Zimbabwean dollar, I mean, we can call them Venezuela. They all collapsed, right? Because inflationary debt-driven monetary systems, they're not sustainable. And we see the current monetary system of the US. This is why they take such a radical turnaround they're making right now, and they're embracing the blockchain technology. That's the only way to succeed. And Larry Fink understands it as an asset manager, that in order to bring stability to the dollar, you need the bond market. He's not just saying it for the fun of it. He understands that unless he strengthens the bond market and brings the stock market and bond market on chain and has a liquidity fund lined up to provide liquidity, his almost $12 trillion asset management empire is going to crash, right? So this is why it's important that we understand this, that liquidity is the only way. And yes, brother Theo, it will be a thing of the past, because with all these reserves that are being put now using using cryptocurrencies, eventually it will click and people will understand that you need a liquid asset like the Swiss National Bank, but one that is not fiat based and inflationary, right? The Swiss only challenges the inflationary future that these fiat currencies have, and it's dipping. That's why it keeps dipping, and it's so volatile based on their inflationary nature. But with Ethereum, you can address that because it's not just an asset, but it's a technology. And the more you use and embrace that technology, the more is built on top of it, the more deflationary it becomes. Now you have a very liquid, deflationary commodity that is giving you a cash flow whenever you decide to stake your provide security and stability. There is nothing like it out there. The closest thing are fiat bonds, buying bonds, right? This is why the bond market is so large. But the thing with the bonds, with the fiat currencies, is they're inflationary. Over time, you lose your purchasing power. And this is where Ethereum will really shine eventually once people get more educated and understand. So good question, Brother Theo. I hope that answered your question. And may I also ask, why has no other central bank followed in the shoes of the Swiss Reserve Bank as they have proof of concept, if you will? And thank you again for for everything, great general salute. This is I can give you a very straightforward answer to this. It all comes to doing things right from day one. There is something known as you crossed a point of no return, right? There comes where now the snowball effect, and this is why the most dangerous thing, as we saw today during the calculations, is the power of compounding. It works for you if the compounding is an asset, then it works for you. Like we saw the Swiss National Bank, their balance sheet. We looked at the balance sheet today, right? Today we really dug deep, and we saw that the largest amount of on their balance sheet is liquidity. So they're earning interest, compound interest on a liquidity. And if your assets are liquid and you're earning compound interest on it, good for you. And if you do it right from day one, this is why nobody can catch up with Switzerland, because they messed up for the last 250 years. And how do you want to sort out your problem that you caused in the last 250 years in 4 years, in one term? It's impossible. Over one weekend, you can't do that, right? So Switzerland has 120 years of pursuing a liquidity driven monetary system, and you saw the balance sheet today. It's negligible. They barely have any liabilities, any debt. They literally shine away from debt. They focus on liquidity driven monetary system. So this is why it would be difficult, great brother Theo, to emulate what the Swiss have been doing for 120 years, right? And this is in the crypto time, we see that happening right now as we speak. Aave has been around for 6.5 years, and they're just now proposing to address the 3 challenges in the industry. Ethereum has been around since 2015 for 10 years now, right? And they just now, just a few years ago, changed to proof of stake. They're just now upgrading and updating things. And we just saw Uniswap. Uniswap has been around since 2008, 2015, 17. So they've also been around 7 to 8 years. And they're just now also addressing the 4 challenges in the industry. So we see that if you don't do it right from day one, like the Swiss did, and you wait too long and go beyond the point of return, and you have the effect working against you, compounding debt instead of compounding liquidity, there is no way you can do it. And so far, majority of nations are so focused on debt-driven monetary system that debt keeps being snowballed and compounded, and it will be tough for them to turn around. It's doable, but then you have to go through pain and make radical decisions, and you won't be the nation's favorites, right? You have to make some radical decisions, and that's what the administration is doing right now, right? They're turning everything upside down. They're shaking things up, turning every stone, and trying to make a difference right now. So I hope that answered your question, great brother Theo. Community, with that said, I appreciate your feedbacks, your questions, your involvement, your engagement very, very much. For those who have not yet, let's engage with the tweets that came out today. For those who came late and have not yet, also as we are closing this session, let's ensure that we engage with this video so that the algorithm will trigger and meet as many people as possible. That's the whole idea. That's the purpose of these sessions, and that's the least we can do. Thank you so much, community. We appreciate you very, very much. Like when Mama Wino said, we are very humbled to have such an amazing community that is extremely active, very consistent, and that are in here during the storms and hurricanes, and because we understand that we need to be consistent, and we are not sunny day participants. We participate on any weather, any condition. If we feel like it or not, we're showing up and delivering, right? That's how success is built. Success builds character, right? And to access get to become successful, you have to go through things. You have to be challenged. You have to look at challenges as opportunities, right? You need to look at challenges as an opportunity and address them with a smile on your face, even if you don't feel like it. And the beautiful thing is that we are together. We're not boxing our way through life individually, but we as a community are in this together. With that said, community, I appreciate you all. Thank you very much for participating. For the Queens, tomorrow is Friday. I want to wish you a beautiful session once more. And for everybody else, we're looking forward to at least or the latest meet again on Saturday in our next community event on Twitter. Thank you very much, community. I want to wish you a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week. And our great brother Theo says, thank you kindly again for always taking the time to answer my questions. I really do appreciate it. We appreciate you as well for placing these questions and for engaging and being active, and very, very much appreciated, great brother Theo. Community, stay blessed, stay focused. Let's stay level-headed, and let's embrace what's coming towards us. Success is ours. And this is not a beautiful statement to say, but it's something that our actions, our consistency, our commitment is going to bring along, as well as the market conditions, the developments that are happening, the regulatory environment, things that are coming towards our way. Let's keep our ears and eyes open for tomorrow. I'm curious about what's happening in the crypto summit tomorrow in the White House, and latest, I'm sure we'll talk about it on Saturday. With that said, community, have a wonderful rest of your week till we meet again. Bye bye, everyone.